Contexto: estaba en directo reaccionando a un video de terror. Si quieres ver cómo grabamos estos videos, sígueme en twitch.tv/Lucasdeus.
Grabando. Ya, a ver.
About the two options. There's nothing there, or there is something there. This anxiety is leveraged throughout horror media. Most relevant to our previous discussion of Flamini and the Underground is Neil Marshall's 2005 classic The Descent, a film that lets the audience stew in the stress of its claustrophobic subterranean darkness for nearly an hour before revealing its cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers.
La wea que te asustáis.
¿Qué me asustó, weón? No me lo esperaba,
The position
weón.
of these before scenes is wonderfully minimal. Often, nearly the entire frame is left black. A single headlamp may provide some light, but only enough to highlight the surrounding dark. Many scenes are horribly rooted in their physical space, like this skin-crawling push through a tunnel. And yet, the film's refusal to further light the frame simultaneously abstracts the space. Everything outside the confines of this tunnel exists only as a void, an amorphous threat always on the verge of swallowing the characters whole. The Descent does have an easy escape for the viewer, though. For as tense as it is, we can reassure ourselves, never in a million years would I put myself in that position. That reassurance ceases to work when darkness envelops the domestic. This is why I couldn't shake Schwartz's The Voice. This is still where my most visceral fears manifest. Gerald's Game is a fairly middling Stephen King book that happens to contain one of the most electrifyingly scary scenes he's ever put to paper. The book centers on Jessie, a woman left handcuffed to her bed after her husband unexpectedly dies whilst preparing for sleep. Unable to escape the cuffs or leave the bed, Jessie is left alone in a cabin, too remote to call for help. As the book goes on, she flickers in and out of reality, mixing her present predicament with her life's previous traumas. And then she meets someone else. She passes out in the evening and wakes in the middle of the night, her arms stiff, her muscles cramping after hours of being handcuffed. She starts to talk to herself. How long can she go without food? How long can she go without water? And then she stops. Her eyes, which had been wandering aimlessly across the darkened room, locked on the far corner, where the wind-driven shadows of the pines danced wildly in the nacreous light falling through the skylight.
Bueno, sé lo que va a pasar y estoy seguro que me va a asustar igual.
Standing there. Terror greater than any she had ever known crept over her. Her terror had blown her mind temporarily clean from wall to wall and ceiling to floor. No sound escaped her, not even the smallest squeak. She was as incapable of sound as she was of thought. She didn't black out, didn't even come close to it. But that mental emptiness and the total physical incapacity that accompanied it were worse than a blackout. When thought did attempt to return, it was at first blocked by a dark, featureless wall of fear. A man in the corner. It's absurd how many of my own childhood anxieties manifested as little more complicated than a man standing in the corner at night. A coat over a chair, a shadow across a bookshelf, a creak of the floorboards, all would near immediately become that most horrifying of apparitions, a man.
Mano, esa weá es verdad, weón. Esa weá es verdad. Weón, yo cuando era chico, weá que escuchaba, veía en mi casa, pensaba al tiro, hay alguien en la casa. Hay algo en la casa. Weón, oh, que la pasaba mal, weón.
And like I did, Jessie immediately tries to talk herself out of it. She's being crazy, she thinks. It's just the dark and moonlight and her own psyche manifesting horrors, but she doesn't believe her own rationalizations. In the bedroom, that we are at our most vulnerable. Anything might stand beside us, watch us, keep us company until dawn, and we would never perceive it. We can only pray that the house will not let such things carry on while we sleep. It is here that the house is most likely to betray us. There is a unique menace that a room can hold in the dark, particularly when suddenly awoken into it. The ordinary turned uneasy, familiar corners now posing a single dreadful question. Is there nothing
29.
there?
Sed. Mano, cuando me voy a dormir siempre me preocupo que ninguna luz entre a mi pieza ni esté en mi pieza, porque si hay me paso películas que en cualquier momento se va a ver una sombra, jajaja.
Oh, sí te entiendo. Bueno, ahora, mira, puta, no lo puedo mostrar, pero yo bueno, cada vez que me han visto darme vuelta, bueno, yo ahora tengo un espejo en mi puerta, entonces yo me doy vuelta, miro como estoy con la linterna acá, que me está alumbrando la cara, se ve mi sombra, y se ve mi sombra en el espejo, entonces cada vez que yo me giro, veo una sombra moverse en el espejo y me cago más de miedo, weón. Y después digo, ah, soy yo. Oh, weón.
Or is there something there? It's the same reason, and I'm embarrassed to even admit this, that I hate looking out windows at night. My body tenses up at the idea that the nothing outside could suddenly hold something. A man standing in the corner. In Ian Reid's book, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, the protagonist describes an incident in which she awoke in the middle of the night, looked out her window, and realized someone was standing outside. A tall man, so tall in fact that his head was above the top of the window. But despite this, she is sure he can see her. In Anatomy, the narrator analogizes windows as the eyes of a house, says it's hard to shake the feeling of being watched when encountering the lightless windows of a tall, dark manor. They describe the windows as eyes as gazing out at their surroundings, but at night, when I'm alone, I can't help but feel that they've turned inward, that it is now the dark that watches me through each window. The protagonist of I'm Thinking of Ending Things watches the tall man outside for a long time, maybe an hour, and then, unexpectedly, subtly, he waves. The wave changed everything. It had an effect of malice, as if he were suggesting I could never be completely on my own, that he would be around, that he would be back. After that, I thought it would reoccur, that he would appear again, watching. But it didn't. Not at my window, anyhow. But I always felt like the man was there. The man is always there. Back in Gerald's game, Jessie continues to stare at the shadows in the corner forming the shape of a man, her mind
Mira, weón, por favor, lo único que pido es que no ponga la escena de la película porque me voy a cagar de miedo, weón. Weón, te aseguro que no hay weá que me incomode más que el rostro de ese personaje, weón. Ya. Vamos a ver.
overloaded line and an interconnected series of power plants. In 2014, the Wall Street Journal reported on a leaked report from the U.S. Federal...
Ah, conchetumare, que ese sonido, weón. Oh. Porque me puse nervioso esa weá, weón. ¿Por qué mierda sonaba? Pum, pum. Pum, pum. Oh,
El lugar está loca hasta que entrar a la pieza.
cállate, conchetumare, weón. Oh, hijo de la perra, no me asusté.
Consider how staggeringly wide we've spread the light. The date of an eclipse, any eclipse within human history, is predicted forward.
Cá, conche. Safo culiao. Safo conchetumare, weón. Oye.
And backwards. We know when an eclipse will occur 100 years from now, and we also know when one occurred 100 to say that, like us, cameras hallucinate in darkness. But the artifacts of the dark that show up on both physical and digital film represent what the camera sees when there is not enough light to truly see. Just like us, they are uneasy in the dark, the ever-present photons assuring the camera that there is a something there, while not giving it enough information to tell it what. This is almost the entire hook of Kyle Edward Ball's 2022 movie Skinamarink, an impressively viewer-hostile piece of horror filmmaking. Skinamarink takes place within one house in 1995. Two kids awake to find their parents have disappeared, as have their house's doors and windows. But this narrative isn't really what the movie is about. The camera, often set as high as 100,000 ISO, refuses to focus on the children. Instead, it stares into the dark corners of the house, the shadows on the ceiling, the feeble glow of a nightlight, the black spilling over the top of the stairs. And these shots, which are agonizingly long and still, become about their noise. The camera's inability to penetrate the dark, paired with a heavy layer of VHS static post-processing. In the depths of the house, the viewer and the camera
Está asustado, loco.
No.
are placed in the same position, staring into nothing, desperately trying to find an image, a pattern, anything in the void. I'm suddenly in my childhood bedroom again, looking down the dark of the stairs, thinking of the two possibilities. There is nothing there. There is something there. In the film's most terrifying scene, one of the children braves the smothering darkness of the second floor and finds her way into her parents' room, where, unexpectedly, her father is actually sitting on the bed. But he doesn't offer any comfort. He doesn't even look at her. Digital noise swims unceasingly around the frame. Eventually, he speaks. Look under the bed. And the camera bends down to find an even deeper dark.
Oh, menos mal la cortó, conchetumare, ya me está...
On page 465 of the book House of Leaves,
Oh,
the book
conchetumare, menos mal
itself, a
cortó
book
esa
called
parte, weón.
House of Leaves, appears in the narrative. It is one of the last. The waves were dead. The tides were in their graves, the moon their mistress.
Conchetumare, que me asustó la voz, weón.
Expired before. The winds were withered in the stagnant air,
La wea que
and the
no.
clouds perished.
Darkness had no need of aid from them. She was the universe. Anyone writing about the dark inevitably finds themselves writing about death. It is, maybe, the only place you can end up. The final darkness, the end of all our metaphors, our fears of dying boiled down to the same simple dichotomy. There's nothing there, or there's something there. After all, isn't that what people report when they feel themselves dying? We focus on the moving towards a light, but that destination only exists because they're moving through the dark, through a tunnel, a cave, a basement, an ocean. I was moving through this long, dark place. It seemed like a sewer. I was in an utterly black, dark void. I had the feeling that I was moving through a deep, very dark valley. I don't know what happens after you die. I don't know what happens while you're dying. But throughout writing this, I keep having this thought, this dream of an astronaut, somehow thrown into intergalactic space, the barren distance between galaxies, the truest void that exists. I think about how you would still be able to see the stars, or rather you would see entire galaxies as single points of light, but that light would share no illumination. You would look down at your body and see nothing. You would move your hand over your face and the galaxies would disappear behind your own darkness. That dark would be the only way you could recognize yourself. There's nothing there. There's something there.
Darkness is not a death, it's not a dead
Weón.
ray, will not
Weón, estuve fácilmente más de la mitad del video cagado de miedo pensando que iba a salir un screamer, weón. Terrible desconfiado, conchetumare, de como el autor original, weón. Oh, conchetumare, weón. Oh, igual me cagué de miedo.